All right. Secrets from the algorithm. Google search internal engineering documentation has leaked. By Mike King. Okay, let's get into it. I had heard about this the other day, and yeah, it looks very, very interesting. So I haven't dove into exactly what leaked, but I had heard that there was quite a bit of things that they had said that didn't matter that it turns out actually do matter. So let's get into it and see what those things are. Google, if you're reading this, it's too late. Okay, crack snuckles. Let's get right into it. Internal documentations for Google Search Content Warehouse API has leaked. Google's internal microservices appear to mirror the Google Cloud Platform offers, and the internal version of documentation for the deprecated document AI warehouse was accidentally published publicly to a code repository for the client library. The document for this code was also captured by an external automated documentation service. Based on the change history, this code repository mistake was fixed on May 7th, but the automated documentation is still alive. In efforts to limit the potential liability, I won't link to it here, but because of all the code in the repository was published under the Apache 2 license, anyone that came across it was granted a broad set of rights, including the ability to use, modify, and distribute it anyway. Cool. This file was deleted. I've reviewed the API reference docs and contextualized them with some other previous Google leaks and the DOJ antitrust testimony. I'm combining that with extensive patent and white paper research done on my upcoming book, The Science of SEO. Where there's no detail about Google's scoring functions in the documentation I've reviewed, there's a wealth of information about data stored for content, links, and user interactions. There are varying degrees of descriptions, ranging from the disappointingly sparse to the surprisingly revealing of the features being manipulated and stored. You'd be tempted to broadly call these ranking factors, but that won't be imprecise. Many, even most of them are ranking factors, but many are not. What I'll do here is contextualize some of the most interesting ranking systems and features, at least those I was able to find in the first few hours of reviewing this massive leak, based on my extensive research and things that Google has lied or told us about over the years. Lied is harsh. No, I don't think it is. I think it's accurate. But it's the only accurate word to use here. While I don't necessarily fault Google's public representatives for protecting their proprietary information, I do take issue with their efforts to actively discredit people in marketing, tech, and journalism worlds who presented reproducible discoveries. My advice to future Googlers speaking on these topics: sometimes it's better to simply say, "We can't talk about that." Yeah, should be able to say that. Your credibility matters, and when the leaks like this and testimony like the DOJ trial come out, it becomes impossible to trust your future statements. Just say no comment. Don't try to make anything up. That's worse than just saying no comment. You're going to get sued. It becomes impossible to trust your future statements. I think we all know, well, don't trust any. In my opinion, you shouldn't trust anything Google says. Like, they will say one thing and then do the exact opposite. Not because they actually lied, but probably because the higher ups never told the people down below that they were about to shut their business down that next week. That just speak volumes, doesn't it? Like, the people who are on the teams don't even know their division is shut down, and it's already shut down. Like, that's pretty cool, That's good communication. So I think we all know people will work to discredit my findings and analysis from this leak. Some will question why it matters and say, but we already knew that. So let's get the caveats out of the way before we get to the good stuff. Limited time and context. With the holiday weekend, I've only been able to spend about 12 hours or so in deep concentration on all of this. I'm incredibly thankful to some anonymous parties that were super helpful in sharing their insights with me that helped me get up to speed so quickly. Also, similar to the Yandex leak I covered last year, I do not have a complete picture. Okay, so be careful. No scoring functions. Yeah. We don't know how things are actually weighted. Likely the first of several posts. Okay. Appears to be current information. Alrighty. Commits. History for Elixir. Google use Elixir. Okay, cool. Automated regeneration of content warehouse client. Automated regeneration of content warehouse client. Correlation is not causation. Okay, this one doesn't really apply here, but I just wanted to make sure I covered all the bases. There are 12 ranking or 14,000 ranking features and more in the docs. There are 2,596 modules represented in the API documentation with 14,000 attributes that look like this. Compressed quality signals. This containing doc signals compressed include Mustang and TerraGoogle. For TerraGoogle, this message is included perk.doc data, limited memory, documents, attributes, discussion, score, effort, page quality, use. I don't know what UGC is. Product review, P promote page. Interesting. Experimental Q star delta signal. Not propagated. It's meant to be populated as serve time. NSR team, WSJ, Wall Street Journal data? Whoa. What? That can't be right. That can't be what that WSG means. The purpose of this field is to be read by experimental Q star component. I don't know anything about the Q star search algorithm. In order to quickly run LEs with Delta components, product review, PD demo site. Yeah, so product review gets times by 1,000 and floored. Okay. So there is some function data here. Okay. Q star site signal not propagated. Match domain demotion. Quality converted from fields. So I assume that's for bad domains. The ranking gets demoted. The modules are related to component of YouTube, assistant, books, video search, links, web documents, crawl infrastructure, and internal calendar system, and the people API. Just like Yandex, Google's systems operate on a monolithic repository or monorepo. The machines operate in a shared environment. This means that all code is stored in place and any machine on the network can be part of Google's systems. Okay. Yeah, I think it sounds like Kubernetes. So, yeah, I would assume that's like Kubernetes. So random app 2, CPU intensive job, random app. Yeah. Shared environment. Everything runs on top of that Linux host. Yep. That's pretty much Kubernetes. Okay. The leaked documentation outlines each module of the API, breaks them down into summaries, types, functions, and attributes. Most of what we're looking at are proprietary or property definitions for various protobufs that get accessed across the ranking system in order to generate SERPs, search engine result pages, what Google shows searchers after they perform a query. Okay. Yeah, this is just saying how protobuf works. Many of the summaries reference Go links, which are URLs on Google's corporate intranet that offer additional details for different aspects of the system. Without the right Google credentials, you can't view the code. Okay. Left to our own devices to interpret. Okay. API docs reveal some notable Google lies. Interesting. Let's see what they are. Google spokespeople have gone out of their way to misdirect and mislead us on a variety of aspects about how their systems operate in an effort to control how we behave as SEOs. Or the engineers misled the marketing people too. That happened. That never happens. The engineer simplifies it for the marketing person, the PR person. Just saying. That never happens, right? Could be a semi-honest mistake. Google spokespeople have gone to their way to misdirect and mislead us on a variety of aspects of how their systems operate in an effort to control how we behave as SEOs. I won't go as far as calling it social engineering because the loaded history of that term. Let's instead go with gaslighting. Nice. Uh, Google's public statements probably aren't intentional efforts to lie, but rather to deceive potential spammers and many legitimate SEOs as well, to throw us off the scent on how to impact search results. They have an incentive to keep certain things quiet from you, to keep certain details of how the search algorithm works, because if people know how to game the system, they're going to game the system. And once people game the system, then the content that's created isn't going to be really great. So they're relying on obscurity here. It's security through obscurity, essentially, which is not a good thing. But they kind of have to. They don't necessarily have a whole lot of tools right now to filter or anything like that. But below, I present assertions from Google's employees alongside facts from the documentation with limited commentary so you can judge for yourself. We don't have anything like domain authority. Google spokespeople have numerously times said that they don't use domain authority. I've always assumed that this was a lie by omission and obfuscation. By saying they don't use domain authority, they could be saying they specifically don't use Moz's metric called domain authority. They could also be saying that they don't measure authority by or importance for a specific subject matter or domain as it relates to a website. This confusion by way of semantics allows them to never directly answer the question as to whether or not they calculate or use site-wide authority metrics. Gary Illes, an analyst on Google search team who focuses on publishing information to help website creators, has repeated this assertion numerous times. Would a backlink to a JPEG URL have the same impact in the algorithm as a static URL? Not sure I understand. For domain authority, would a backlink to a JPEG URL be as impactful as a web page URL? We don't really have overall domain authority. A text link with an anchor text is better, though. And Gary's not alone. John Mueller, search advocate who coordinates Google search relations, declared in this video, we don't have website authority score. I'm not real sure. I'm going to be honest. I don't know what they mean necessarily by domain authority. Is it like how many things link to that page? If so, I thought Google has done that for a long time. Like, if more things link to that page, it's considered an authority on the subject. I would think that that would be a thing, but I don't know. In reality, as part of the compressed quality signals that are stored on a per document basis, Google has a feature saying they compute called site authority. Yeah. If that means what you think it means, that's a big thing. We do not know specifically how this measure is computed or used downstream scoring functions, but we know definitively that this exists and is used in the Q-star ranking system. Turns out Google does indeed have an overall domain authority. Q Googlers claiming we have it, but we don't use it. Or you don't understand what that means. Or wait, I said limited commentary, didn't I? Moving on. Yeah, we don't use clicks for rankings. Why would you not? Oh, who said that one? Clicks should absolutely be used for rankings, shouldn't they? Like, you would think if someone clicks on the thing more often, you'd want to have the thing be higher up in the search results, right? Right? What other metric do you have other than if the user goes to the site because it looks right? Oh, I don't know why I think that's so funny, but if someone thinks that they don't use clicks for rankings, that's wow. Okay. Let's put this one to bed for good. Testimony from Pandu Nayak in the DOJ antitrust trial recently revealed the existence of Glue and NavBoost ranking systems. NavBoost is a system that employs click-driven measures to boost, demote, and otherwise reinforce ranking in web search. That seems reasonable. That seems like something that Google would probably do. Nayak indicated that NavBoost has been around since 2005 and historically has been rolling 18 months of click data. The system was recently updated to use rolling 13 months of data to focus on web search results, while a system called Glue is associated with other universal search results. But even before that reveal, we had several patents, included 2007 time-based ranking patent, which specifically indicates how click logs can be used to change results. So there's good evidence that something like this exists. We also know that clicks as a measure of success is a best practice in information retrieval. We know that Google has shifted towards machine learning driven algorithms, and ML requires responses to variables to refine its performance. One of those metrics is clicks. If someone clicked on an article or a search result, like, that would be a good indicator for you, you'd think, anyway. Despite this staggering evidence that there is still confusion in the SEO community due to the misdirection of Google spokespeople and the embarrassingly complicit publication of articles across the search marketing world that uncritically repeat Google's public statements. They measure clicks. I never would think that they wouldn't. So, if I was building a search engine, I would. Gary Eyes has addressed this click measuring issue many times. In one instance, he reinforced what Google search engineer Paul Harr stated in his 2016 SMX West talk about live experience, saying that using clicks directly in rankings would be a mistake. Last month we used quality update. How's Google assessing the quality? How do clicks factor in? We use clicks in different ways. The main thing we use clicks for evaluation and experimentation. There are many people who are trying to induce noise in clicks. This person, for example, is experimenting with clicks using links directly in ranking would be a mistake. In personalized results, if you have a search for an apple, we would most likely search you a disambiguation box. We have to figure out if you mean company or food. Then we'd look at the click you made. So you do use clicks. Later still, he famously used his platform to disparage Rand Fishkin, founder, CEO of Moz and longtime SEO practitioner, saying that dwell time, CTR, whatever Fishkin's new theory is, those are generally made up crap. I'll answer this quickly. Waiting for plane and I'm bored. I'm supposed to answer question tomorrow. RankBrain is PR sexy machine learning ranking component that uses historical search data to predict that what a user would most likely click on for a previously unseen query. It's a really cool piece of engineering, saved our butts countless times. Traditional algorithms like oh look and a not in the query string, let's ignore the hell out of it, but generally relying sometimes months old data about what happened on the result page itself, not on the landing page. Dwell time, CTR, whatever Fishkin's new theory is, those are generally made up crap. Search is much more complex than people think. In reality, NavBoost has a specific module entirely focused on click signals. Yep. Not surprised. The summary that the module defines as clicks and impressions for craps, one of the ranking systems. As we see below, bad clicks, good clicks, and last longest clicks, unsquashed clicks, and unsquashed last longest clicks are considered as metrics. Wow. Okay, that's a mouthful. According to Google, scouring local search results based on location prominence patent, squashing is a function that prevents one large signal from dominating the others. Really yawn. It's getting late. Okay. In other words, the systems are normalizing the click data to ensure there is no runaway manipulation based on the click signal. Googlers argue that systems and patents and white papers are not necessarily what they are in production, but NavBoost would be a nonsensical thing to build and include were it not a critical part of Google's information retrieval systems. Bad clicks, good clicks. Yeah, I would want all this data, last longest clicks. If they click into it and then click out quickly, that's probably a signal that you want to be aware of. Last longest clicks, unsquashed clicks. Yeah. This sounds like stuff you would want as a search engine. Many of these are the same click-based measurements that are also found in other module-related indexing signals. They're same also found in another module related to indexing signals. One measure is the day last good click. Suggests that content decay or traffic loss over time is a function of a ranking page not driving the expected amount of clicks for its SERP position. Okay. So yes, Google does not mention CTR or dwell time by those exact words in the documentation, but the spirit of what Rand proved, clicks on search results and measures of a successful search session are included, and they should be. I think Google should do that. Like, that is good data that indicates whether or not you should have things. So what we can do so far is the PR from people from Google just don't. They're either A, trying to confuse, or B, have no idea what the actual engineers are doing at Google. And I think both could be very valid things, even maybe at the same time. So, yeah. This next one, there is no sandbox. Google spokespeople have been adamant there is no sandbox that websites are segregated to based on age or lack of trust signals. It's in a now deleted tweet. John Mueller responded to a question about how long it takes people to be eligible to rank, indicating that there is no sandbox. To relieve from Google's sandbox for a new website, there is no sandbox. In the per doc data module, the documentation indicates an attribute called host age that is usually specified to sandbox fresh spam in serving time. Yep, they gotta have some sort of spam filter for that stuff. Yep. So yeah, it's one of those things is like you could see them make the argument that that is just for mitigating spam, and what other people are talking about is not just for spam. You could make that argument if you really stretch it, but this is pretty disingenuous, I think, overall. So in the per doc data module, the documentation indicates an attribute. Oh, yeah. We don't use anything from Chrome for ranking. Y'all actually believed that one? Oh. Really? That's a no-brainer. Of course they're using that. Of course they're using Chrome data. Matt Cutts has previously been quoted as saying Google does not use Chromium data as part of organic search. More recently, John Mueller reinforced this idea. Chrome in total, site level Chrome views. Well, that one was a lie. Predictably so, but still a lie. One of the modules related to page quality scores feature a site level measures of views from Chrome. Another module that seems to be related to generation of site links has a Google Chrome related attribute as well. Leaked internal presentation from May 2016 on real-time boost system also indicated that Google data was coming to search, or Chrome data. I mean, you get the point. Yeah. Google spokespeople are well-meaning, but can we trust them? The quick answer is not when you get too close to the secret sauce. Yeah, I harbor no ill will against the folks I've cited here. I'm sure they all do their best to provide support and value the community within the bounds they are allowed. That's a big deal. However, these documents make it clear that we should continue to take what they say as one input, and our community should continue to experiment and see what works. Empirical research is going to give you better answers than a PR person for Google. Absolutely. They cannot tell you everything. And they should probably, you're right, based on that other statement that you said before. They probably should tell you I don't know. I do think that they should. I should or not I don't know. They should say I don't know when they don't know. And they should also say I can't say or no comment, because that is important too. Conceptually, you may think of the Google algorithm as one thing and the giant equation with many series of weighted ranking factors. In reality, it's a series of microservices where many features are pre-processed and made available at runtime to compose the SERP. Based on these different systems referenced in the documentation, there may be over 100 different ranking systems. Assuming these are not all the systems, perhaps each of the separate ranking system represents a ranked signal, and maybe that's how Google gets to the 200 ranking signal they often talk about. That is an incredible amount of data to be processing that fast. Thousands of parameters and hundreds, at least, well, over 100 different ranking systems, merging that data together in real time for your search query and then pushing that to the user. That is incredible engineering to take that much data and process it that quickly. And sure, some of it's cached. I'm sure much of it is cached, but that is crazy to me. That would be super interesting to see how under the hood of how all that works. But it might take a career's worth of time to figure out how it all works. Assuming these are not all systems, perhaps each separate system representing a ranking signal, and maybe that's how Google gets to the 200 ranking signals they often talk about. In Jeff Dean's Building Software Systems at Google and Lessons Learned talk, he mentioned that earlier iterations of Google sent each query to 1,000 machines to process and respond in the sub 250 milliseconds. He also diagrammed an earlier version of the system architecture abstraction. This diagram illustrates the super root is the brain of the Google search that sends queries out and stitches everything together at the end. These are the cache servers. Yeah. So there's the web and then all those different things. And then there's the caching layer that aggregates all of it together. And underlying all that is the indexing service. This makes sense. Distinguished researcher Mark Narjuk, in his recent generative engine information retrieval presentation, showed an abstracted model of Google search with its RAG system. This diagram illustrates a series of different data stores and servers that process the various layers of a result. So content, crawler. So the crawler loads all the data into these, the corpus builder, document embedder, index builder, inverted index, vector DB, corpus language model, LM generator, corpus server, embedding server, search front end users. This doesn't tell me much. Google's whistleblower Zach Voorhees leaked on this slide, which showcases the relationships of the different systems within Google by their internal names. Several of these are referenced in the documentation. Chauffeur, Neat, Google TV, Google Now, Play Apps, Sybil Brain. Interesting. Using these high-level modules, we can start to think about how some of these components play together. From what I can glean from the documentation, it appears this API lives on top of Google's Spanner. Spanner is the architecture that basically allows for infinite scalability of content storage and compute while treating a series of globally networked computers as one. Admittedly, it's somewhat difficult to piece together the relationship of everything together just from the documentation, but Paul Har's resume proves with some valuable insights as to what some of the named ranking systems do. I'll highlight the ones I know by name and segment them into their function. Trawler is the web crawling system. Features a crawling queue and maintains crawl rates and understands how often pages change. Alexandria is the core indexing system. SegIndexer is the system that places tiers of documentation into tiers within the index. TerraGoogle is the secondary indexing system. Interesting. So SegIndexer runs in memory then? If this is for long-term storage, we can assume. HTML renderer WebKit headless, rendering system for JavaScript pages. They do it. Here's proof that that's a thing. They do actually render front-end apps. Whether or not they demote them for performance issues because spas are really slow, that's another thing, but they render them. This proves it. Link extractor, extract links from pages. WebMirror, system for managing canonicalization and duplication. Okay. Mustang, the primary scoring, ranking, and serving system. Interesting. NavBoost is the re-ranking system based on clicks. Yep. Re-ranking system for documents based on freshness. So time is an aspect as well. Web chooser score, name and snippet scoring. Google Web Server is the server that the front end of Google interacts with. Yeah, SuperRoot, the brain of Google search. This is the aggregation layer. System generates snippets for the results. Glue, system following the universal results, including the user behavior. Cookbook is the system for generating signals. Okay, so this is the spyware. Got it. As I said, there are many more systems outlined in these docs, but it's not clear what they do. For example, SAFT and Drishti from the above diagram are also represented in these documents, but their functions are unclear, and they looked relatively important here. So, interesting. ML team. Is that ML or MI team? Interesting. What are twiddlers? There's limited information online about twiddlers in general, so I think it's worth explaining them here so we can better contextualize the various boost systems that we encounter in the docs. Twiddlers are re-ranking functions that run after the primary A-score algorithm or A-score search algorithm. They operate similar to how filters and actions work in WordPress, where what is displayed is adjusted right before being presented to the user. Twiddlers can adjust the information retrieval score of a document or change the ranking of a document. A lot of the live experiments and named systems we know about are implemented in this way. One time I made a change to API definition of SuperRoot, the service that powers Google, to disable twiddlers without realizing all of YouTube search depended on it. And I brought down YouTube search for a couple of hours. Oops. Oh no. Yikes. I would love to hear stories from senior plus engineers who push the F-ups to prod to know I'm not crazy for feeling some type of way to be told my code quality is poor due to code being pushed to prod that I quickly fixed when I found the issues. Just want to know if this is something. Twiddlers can offer category constraints, meaning diversity can be promoted by specifically limiting the types of results. For instance, the author may decide to only allow 3 blog posts in a given SERP, and this can clarify when ranking is a lost cause based on your page format. Ooh, interesting. So sometimes your rank can be affected based on how your format is. Interesting. Maybe not. It might be misreading that. When Google says something like Panda was not part of the core algorithm, this is likely means it's launched as a twiddler and a re-ranking boost or demotion calculation, and then later moved into primary scoring function. Think of it as similar to the difference between server-side and client-side rendering. So they're different layers in the pipeline, essentially. Presumably, any of the functions with a boost suffix operate using the Twiddler framework. Here are some of the boosts identified in the block: nav, quality, real-time, web image. By naming conventions, they're all pretty self-explanatory. Okay. There's also an internal document about Twiddlers I've reviewed that speaks to this in more detail, but this post sounds like the author saw the same doc as I did. Key revelations that may impact how you do SEO. What do we want to glean from this? Okay, the system generates a modification factor for the group of resources from the count of independent links and the count of reference queries. For example, the modification factor can be a ratio of the number of independent links for the group to the number of reference queries for the group. That is, the modification factor can be expressed with this equation where IL is the number of independent links counted from the group of resources, and RQ is the number of reference queries counted from the group of resources. So is what this is saying, is this just saying basically that this is all link based? Like backlinks are essentially what drives your search results to the top of the list. The more things that reference you that are indexed elsewhere, the more boosts you'll get essentially in the search results. That's what I'm gathering here. That's what I'm gathering so far, is like one of the best things you can do is be referenced by other content. I think that's probably it. So a reference query for a particular group of resources can be previously submitted search query that has been categorized as referring to a resource in the particular group of resources. Categorizing a particularly previously submitted search query as referring to a resource in the particular group of resources can include determining that the particular previously submitted search query includes one or more terms that have been determined to refer to the resource in particular group. Within a category, if this is a commonly clicked on thing, essentially it'll be driven to the top of the search results if this is a common query. This makes sense. This I think that's what this is saying. If that's true, that falls in line with what I've seen on Google, like things that people are looking that and that makes sense. Things that people are looking for should go to the top of the list essentially. So that all makes sense. Now that we have access to this documentation, it's clear that the reference queries are queried from NavBoost. Yep. Collapsed by WebRef and single query, treated as an annotator equivalent. They contain the same mentions. Yep. Fresh's similar to the core Web Vitals calculation function also means that updates to the graph were not processed in real time for Panda. Not to beat a dead horse, but the site quality score also contemplates a score that is a ratio between the reference queries and the user selection or clicks. The bottom line is here that you need to drive more successful clicks to using a broader set of queries to earn more link diversity if you want to continue to rank. Conceptually, it makes sense because a very strong piece of content will do that. A focus on driving more qualified traffic to a better user experience will send signals to Google that your page deserves to rank. You should focus on the same to recover from the helpful content update. Yeah, I think I think that that's pretty obvious. You get more, the more successful clicks you get, the more your content's going to go up. And successful probably means that they stayed on your page for a little while reading stuff. So you don't want to drive people to it and then have them click away super quickly. That's not going to help. Much has been written about EEAT. Many SEOs are non-believers because of how nebulous it is to score expertise and authority. Ooh, hold on. So let me get this straight. Based on what I'm seeing here, a successful click is one that the user clicks on a link in the search results, starts reading, stays there for a while, and doesn't go back to Google necessarily. So a successful link is one the user stays on. What if they stay on it because it sounds right? What's in the article or the piece of information sounds right, but they're not sure, so they keep reading to try to figure it out. What tends to sound right all the time, but is actually categorically false? What thing out there generates content that sounds right, but you're not quite sure? Might explain some of the common search results on Google right now. Just saying. Just saying, that might be why there are so many AI generated articles at the top of the list, because they sound right. People click on the link and then they go there and they spend their whole time trying to figure out if the freaking article is exactly what they needed or if it's just a fake AI generated article and nobody's really sure. So they sit there and wait and think and read, and they don't actually get an answer. Yeah, that's not good. That's not good at all. Oh, no wonder Google search results are destroyed right now. Much has been written about EEAT. Many SEOs are non-believers because of how nebulous it is to score expertise and authority. I previously highlighted how little author markup is actually on the web. Prior to learning about vector embeddings, I did not believe the authorship was a viable enough signal at web scale. Okay. Nonetheless, Google does explicitly score the authors associated with the document as text. Ooh. Ooh. So they're tracking how your content does across websites. Sneaky, sneaky. They also look to determine if an entity on a page is also the author of the page. Yeah, they're trying to find the author of the document. Ooh, this combined with in-depth mapping of entities and embedding showcased in these documents, it's pretty clear that there is some comprehensive measurement of authors. Demotions. So these are the things that get demoted for. Anchor mismatch. When the link does not match the target site it's linking to, the link is demoted on calculations. Google's looking for relevance on both sides of a link. Yeah, if you have an anchor tag in there and that anchor tag doesn't exist, they're going to demote you. SERP demotion, signal indicating demotion based on factors observed from SERP, suggesting a potential user dissatisfaction with the page as likely measured by clicks. Okay. Nav demotion applied to pages exhibiting poor navigation practices or user experience issues. Yeah. Domain demotion, the exact match domains would not get as much value as they did historically. There is a specific feature for their demotion. Ooh. Whoa, what is this? Exact match. If the thing is the exact match, domains with low quality content. Oh, this is a good thing. Those things, those domains that copy a bunch of data and then just capitalize on exact matches. Okay. Okay. This makes sense. Yeah, you want to demote that. There's no specific product information, but it's listed as a demotion and probably related to product reviews update. So they demote it if it's a product review, not promote it. Interesting. Location, global pages, and super global can be demoted. Attempts to associate pages with the location and rank them accordingly. This makes sense. People in certain locations are going to be more interested in certain things. Porn demotions, yeah, that makes sense. Other link demotions we'll discuss. Okay, source type. This is really long, so I'm gonna kind of skip ahead here, I think. Let's skip into the meat of this phrase. Anchor spam count. Many spam phrases found in the anchors among unique domains. So these are just looking for spam, essentially. That makes sense. Yeah, like looking to see if, like, I assume what that's doing is probably looking to see, hey, does this have, like, are there tags for a crap ton of different disparate, unrelated things in here? That probably would demote you. Considered for all pages. Home rank. Page rank. Okay. Home pages is considered. Information about the source page is a home page. It can only be one of the enum variables, not home page, not trusted, partially trusted, or fully trusted. Okay, so you want to be a fully trusted home page. Otherwise, your stuff is going to get demoted. And then that's going to affect your rest of your pages because you're an untrusted authority of that, or you're not a trusted authority, a domain authority at that point. Always, you should be focused on the quality and the relevance of your links instead of the volume. Yep, that makes sense. Font size in terms of link matters. Ooh, interesting. Really? Bold and underline text to make them appear more important. Seen people say this is still worth doing. I was skeptical, but now I see that Google is tracking the average weighted font size in terms of documents. Really? They're doing the same for anchor text of links. The anchor is for experimental purposes and should not be used in serving. Ooh. Interesting. So I should make all of my links bold and increase the font weight. Got it. Did not see a single mention of disavow. I don't know what disavow is. Documents get truncated. Short content scored for originality. Thin content is not always a function of length. Interesting. Page titles are still measured against queries. That makes sense. There are no characters counting no character counting measures. Is the prefix. Okay, so you don't want to overdo your prefix. Like, I assume that's your abstract, like your description. Dates are very important. Yeah, they want fresh data, essentially. Domain registration info is stored about pages. Video sites are treated differently. Your money, your life is specifically scored? What? What is that? Interesting. What is that? What is your money, your life? Is it this specific book? Gold standard documents. There's no indication. Human labeled documents versus automatically labeled annotations. How on topic a page is. That makes sense. Google may be torching small sites on purpose. Small personal site. Score of a small personal site in Go promotion blogs. Based on everything we know, it would not be difficult for them to add a twiddler that boosted such sites or one that demoted them. Considering the backlash and the small businesses that have been torched by helpful content update, it's a wonder that they use this feature to do something about it. Ooh. So personal sites are ranked differently. It's helpful content known as Baby Panda. NSR mean natural semantic retrieval. Okay. So he said he needs to send that guy an apology. He needs to you need to make great content and promote it well. Okay, that makes sense. Bring back correlation studies. We have better understanding of many features of Google, though a combination of clickstream data and feature extraction. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So, okay. All this was by Mike King. Okay. So this was all right. This is interesting. This is coming from an SEO ranker, so keep that all in mind. I wanted to view it from their eyes to see if they had anything significant in here. And it sounds like there is some interesting stuff that Google does do, but a lot of it, I was actually surprised how much of it makes sense to me and how much their PR team contradicts what actually happens behind the scenes. And I think that goes to show that you can't trust what these companies are telling you. What they say and what they do are two very different things. And whether or not that's due to like communication issues or that's due to outright like malevolence or just, they just want to make money. You just can't take these things at face value. You have to take everything the PR team says at these companies with a grain of salt. What we can learn is that when Microsoft says Microsoft Recall will be processed locally on your device, you can assume that that's probably not the case. That maybe it's processed locally, but all the data about what it found on the page is probably going back to Microsoft. Things like that. Probably you can assume that these things will be used for ad revenue. Like, we can't know for sure whether or not these things are true or not until like a leak like this comes out. And I mean, to be fair, we can't even be sure that the leak is true. It looks right based on like the circumstances. It looks like this stuff accidentally got committed to a repo and then, everyone's looking at it. But I don't know if you can even assume that what the PR team is saying is probably right. It's probably just in the best interest of the company, or it's based on what limited knowledge that PR person has at that time. So basically, take everything Google and Microsoft and Apple says with a huge grain of salt, because it's probably meaningless as far as we can tell. So anyway, if you found this interesting, please comment below if you think I'm completely off base with anything here, or if you have any other insights into why or how Google ranks different things, please comment below. We record videos like this every Monday around 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So have a good one.